You are being lied to, and the proof is not a rumor. It is a confession written in her own hand. There is a document that exists that was never supposed to be public. It was not leaked. It was not stolen. It was written, signed, and sent by Blake Lively herself. She wrote it at 3 in the morning. That matters. 3 a.m. is not a power hour. It is the hour when panic kicks in, when you feel control slipping and you start typing like your life depends on it. She sat down and typed 25 single-spaced pages and sent them to the Producers Guild of America, begging for a producer credit she was never hired to have, and she fought like hell to keep this letter sealed. Now we know why. Because this is not a resume. It is a psychological thriller. In this letter, Blake describes herself running every microscopic aspect of this movie, then turns around and tells a court she was powerless. That she was being harassed, that she needed 17 special protections just to do her job. You have to pick one. You cannot be the boss and the victim in the same breath. This letter screams boss. It screams control. It reads like she ran that set like a personal kingdom and everyone else was just allowed to exist in it. She starts by bragging about the location move. She says she personally led the shift from Boston to New Jersey. Talks about savings, logistics, efficiency. What is in New Jersey? Her house. She moved a multi-million-dollar production to her backyard and framed it like a charitable act. That is not leadership. That is convenience dressed up as sacrifice. Then she starts listing personnel like trophies. She personally called crew, handpicked department heads, hair, makeup, DP, costumes, security, camera. She hired the nutritionist, the trainer, the meal prep service, the hair colorist. And yes, she proudly lists the spray tanner. You are asking for a producer credit because you hired someone to bronze the cast. That is not producing. That is a spa appointment. She says she reshaped production design for all key locations, reshaped costumes for every character, called in favors to furnish sets. That is not collaboration. That is domination. Then she admits she rewrote the script, improved a role after 3 actresses turned it down, went through hundreds of casting tapes, personally recruited Brandon Sklenar with a letter. So let's recap. She rewrote the script, cast the movie, picked the crew, designed the sets, controlled the wardrobe, but we are supposed to believe she was afraid of the director. From what? She stripped him of authority and then cried wolf. The movie was supposed to be rated R. Everyone knew that. Contracts were signed, studio and distributor were locked in. Blake pushed to make it PG-13. She lobbied the studio, pressured the distributor, overrode the director, got her way. Then later, she accused him of being inappropriate for wanting adult content. The same content the movie was always supposed to have. She changed the rules mid-game and then accused him of cheating. That is not victimhood, that is gaslighting. Then she admits she got the first AD fired. Names her, brags about it, says she knew better. Who does that? You do not put someone's name in a letter to a guild about why you fired them unless you want credit for it. That is not transparency, that is a warning shot. And then comes the wildest claim of all. She says she managed HR. Daily. Read that again. The woman who filed a harassment complaint claims she was managing HR. So who is she supposed to report the harassment to? Herself. You cannot be the authority and claim oppression by the system you are running. That is not how reality works. She watched the monitor between every take, shot listed with the director, led meetings, dealt with wildfires, dealt with the writer's strike, hired intimacy coordinators and doubles. At this point, the question is not how she was mistreated. The question is whether anyone else was allowed to do their job. Post-production is where the takeover is complete. She claims 10-hour days minimum, 22-hour days. For months, sleeping 3 hours a night. Then she explains what she did. Worked with the original editor just long enough to say she respected the director's vision. Then brought in her own editors. Changed everything. Picked 90% of the music. Hired a new composer. Personally recruited artists. Ran test screenings, read all the feedback, re-edited repeatedly, and whose cut got released. Hers, not the director's. Her cut, her music, her edit. She replaced his editor, his composer, his vision, and released her version. But somehow he was the tyrant. That is not collaboration. That is a coup. Then, marketing. She met with Sony leadership, told them how to cut the trailer, gave time codes, worked with international teams, digital teams, chose colors, fonts, copy, cadence. She bought patches on Amazon, styled other actors for press. She ran marketing. And when it flopped, she blamed everyone else. You do not get to take credit when it works and dodge responsibility when it doesn't. After 25 pages of control, she plays the feminism card, says she deserves credit as a woman, as a mother, as a role model. Stop. You just described taking over a man's movie, firing his staff, overriding his cut, and locking him out of his own project. This is not sexism, this is entitlement. She name drops Bradley Cooper. Same playbook, borrow famous names until someone caves. She even brags about securing Taylor Swift's song, Wild, so proud. This is the same woman claiming trauma, writing a 3 a.m. love letter to herself about how powerful she was. This letter is not a request. It is a confession. She hijacked the movie, took control, and when she didn't get the credit she felt owed, she burned the place down and blamed everyone else. Blake Lively was not the victim of a hostile work environment. She was the hostile work environment. And this letter is just one layer. We're going to keep peeling this onion, and the more layers come off, the less it smells like victimhood, and the more it smells like control.
That's my opinion!